Hi, I'm Ezekiel Dasho, and I'm going to draw this picture of a woman, and I'm studying this picture for potentially using it as a source photo for a painting, and I want to kind of see how I like it. I'm using a light charcoal pencil, and just going to start by just lightly sketching it and seeing what develops here. There's a lot of rhythm in the face, in the curves of the nose and cheeks here, and so like here I've got the ball of her nose, and that leads to this curve here by her lips. Now, as you can tell, I'm not going through a standard, build, doing the whole process for that right now. I'm just want to start it up and see what happens. I'm doing my best to keep it accurate, but I also want to keep it moving quickly and hopefully have a video that's a reasonable length and that people will have time to watch. Maybe people who aren't full-time dedicated to drawing will have some time to watch these too. So, see her placement of her eye here. Her eyelash kind of. Their eyebrow. Using a couple different points to loosely triangulate the position of these things. Eyebrow, edge of nostril, things like that. Very similar to how I've done in the other videos. And I'm going to draw the outer edge of the lower lid of her rim of her eyelid. Kind of just suggest some of these eyelashes here. They don't need to be too heavy. And that'll get us moving along to the next bit. Let's go for the lips here. Because of the angle of the camera, the upper lip is almost entirely obscured. And what we see is the shadow that it's casting on the bottom lip. And the bottom lip, there's just this very gentle variation in tone between her lip and the kind of blue shadows that are being cast up from the light and the bouncing around in the mosaics of the pool. Let's kind of rein in her chin a little bit here. Okay, so now I've got that side of her face relatively well established. I'm pretty happy with it, and just start brushing in some of the hair, and I want to be cognizant of the main outline of her hair. I'm not trying to necessarily draw these as hairs, but just to brush in the texture of the hair. And it's nice, like swooping long. As long as the lines you're doing are direct and quick and light, probably gonna get the result that you're happy with. But if you push in hard, you're unsure of yourself, you wobble or something like that, it's going to quickly stop looking like hair that has tension and pull and mass and stuff, and start looking like, little kid drawings of hair. And let's adjust my photo for a second here. Now I'm going to kind of outline the shape of the main bulk of her hair, the mass of her hair. And where necessary, I've got these, trying to differentiate it between these shapes. I'm going out of my range here for my video. So we'll just leave that trailing off there. And let's come back to where we are in range. And some of this area from her chin. And let's try this. This will be an easy point to determine that her arm begins here, and then also this nice rhythm line here, sort of. And kind of keep it sharp. And there it curves a little bit. And so we'll just call that, I don't want to trail off too far and have it running off the camera, so add a few shadow layers here. So this would be maybe like the first line of shadow that we see, first main one. And then there's another line here, and just going in gently in. And then before the bottom of the arm, there's this third darker line. And so now we can kind of just soften these edges a little bit. Just using a light touch. Some of the circular motion here and there, and the kind of cross-hatching motion here and there. And here we've got this area of her arm which is a little darker than the and then I just want to get a couple of these arm shadows kind of established, and then we'll move on to the rest. And her chest trails here. let's see some of this eyelash here. Even some of the darkness of the eyebrow and the eye kind of running into each other a little bit. And press in a little bit harder and get some of these darker tones for the eyelash and the eyes. And so it's coming along pretty quickly, and that's great. Okay, now start to put some of the hair in here. There's some big shapes that I would pull out of the hair, and I don't want to get too deep into the hair right now because that, of all the things in this image, it's probably the most information rich. There just is a lot going on, and I could easily start to go down that rabbit hole and take a lot of time. So let's get some of the shadows on her face added in, and what I'm seeing here is a very light, kind of level 1, maybe first layer shadow there, and then I'm seeing a shadow here that has a pretty nice angle to it, and it's completely covering this area here by her eye. And all the way up to there. So I'm just going to treat this whole area like it's in shadow, which will help define the white of the eye there too. And then I'm seeing an angle from her nostril down to her lip, something like that. And a shadow on her nose too. And then the rest of the nose is kind of just lighter than that. And there are a couple different directional values you could approach it from. And there are some freckles too. So I want to get really detailed about it. And figure out a way to get those in there too. And it might involve not using a charcoal pencil for it, but or maybe using a brush to brush some of the charcoal details in. With painting, sometimes it can be pretty straightforward, especially with oil painting. It's, match the color you want to the area you want and apply the color that you want on the right value and the right color in the right place, and that's more than enough to convey the information. With charcoal drawing, sometimes it's a little different. So let's keep moving here. I said this before, and I'm going to say it again, that I need to rein her chin in a little bit on my picture. Maybe you're not making this error, but on mine, I kind of had her chin was too big. And there's this pretty dark shadow here that allows me to cover for it a little bit. And then her arms are allowing me to cover for that as well. So her chest and arm area is kind of and then I can just, that's the way I'm gonna, it's not the most accurate approach, but for this video I think it'll do well. And we see, let's see, her lip here, almost a straight line over. And then her neck, these contours in her neck begin. And we can start to just get some of these details, just looking at the relative darknesses and let's get some of these value areas, these high value areas with the darks, and get some of those sketched in here a little bit too. And I'm doing a lot of drawing with my shoulder. There's not a lot happening at the wrist level. And so I can get these dark blacks and straight edges and sharp edges and stuff. I've got these shapes kind of identified, and I'm just going to paint them in a little bit here. And I'm not really not drawing hair. I'm not thinking about it in terms of hair drawing at all. I'm thinking in terms of, shape identification and then value application. So, like, I've got this kind of curvy shape here, and it's dark, and I want to have it be dark and relatively uniform for now. Not even getting close to that phase where I want to start drawing the hair yet. Let's get her ear in. So we see this, try this connecting area of her jaw. And let's see here. Just looking for some of these areas where the shadow is pretty sharp. And let's get the, speaking of sharp, let's get this sharp black line there for her eyelid, and let's get some of the lines in for the lips. And now let's just gently start adding in some of these shadow shapes that we see here. Okay, so let's see. We'll start kind of getting some of these areas covered with the Well, again, the hair is sort of just in placeholder mode. I could definitely do an hour of just drawing the hair. So right now I'm just going to keep on looking at these areas of the face that shadows here, these sort of boundary places. Besides the flowingness of the hair, the flowing underwater hair, I think one of the things I like most about this picture is the way that the light bounces around underwater, casts these interesting shadows. So, at the cheek here. At the chin here, and it's sort of angled shadow. I'm keeping it as light as I can while still moving along. Got this light expanse of her cheek. Let's get some of this area covered here. We'll go and touch it up a little bit. One of the things I like about using charcoals for these studies is I start to really think about the contrasts and contours and the form underneath the skin that is kind of calling out for a certain contour of brush stroke. I quite like looking at the pencil strokes, the brush strokes. It makes it look like a proper drawing to me. I don't think I'm going to get out the shader or smudger or anything, and just want to study this for the different shapes and shading elements that it's going to ask for when I start to do a more fully realized drawing of it. Yeah, it's getting toward a place where I think we can call it a video. Maybe a little more on the eyelids here. Maybe a little more eyebrow. All right. Got a couple minutes left before I hit the half-an-hour mark. So I'm just going to look at some of these areas here. See what happens if I add a little bit of this white pencil. And like I said, I am kind of playing around with it. I don't use this very often, so I don't really know what'll happen. And kind of the only way to find out is by doing. So just going to I can see how it helps even the tone a little bit. Which is nice. And could definitely be useful for some of this underwater stuff. Definitely useful for hair too. But is it useful for kitty cats? Could be. Pushing the shadow to the limit here. See what happens when I get in there and use the white pencil on it. And it's pretty nice. Kind of good for low lights too, like applying some of these areas where it's definitely not a highlight, but it's like a bounce back light kind of from the bottom of the pool, like onto her chin in this area here. Oh, that's nice for like evening some of these brush strokes out a little bit. All right, well, I think that's enough playing around with the kind of getting a sense of what it does. Definitely stuff that's, like if you're using graphite for this, definitely stuff that's achievable with a blender or an eraser. I wouldn't say, run out and buy a white pencil just for this if you don't already have one. But makes for fun little addition to the can like bring the cheek down a little bit and all right. See what happens when I come back in with some darker blacks after that. That's pretty nice. Oh, I'm glad I tried it. Come back in here and sharpen up some of these shadows, or darken them up rather. Maybe darken this. Should probably sharpen my pencil before I do this, but I'm just gonna go for it. It's nice. You can get a lot of contrast. Definitely. Just kind of increases your gray range, I guess, which is nice. For some reason, that's like the only adjective I can find right now, but sorry about that. All right, well, thanks for being with me, and I hope to see you next time. And we'll maybe do another version of this sketch. Or, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to feel like, so I don't want to force it too much. Kind of roll with it. And as always, if you like this, please like and subscribe. Share with someone else who you think might enjoy this. And thoughts, comments, suggestions, critiques, praise, always welcome. And I hope you have a great day. And I also hope to see you next time